New York, and this affects I don't know how many cities, maybe around 100 cities around the country. Lansing is a great example of this program, and it's a partnership between the City of Detroit, the Wayne County Treasurer's Office, and Bloomberg, New York. And if I may just speak to it briefly, and today, by the way, we started our first drop-in Wednesdays, where Wayne Metro is the entity that we've contracted with to represent this program here in the Detroit area, and they operate out of the Wayne County Treasurer's Office. And just a quick few words about the FEC program. So it is to provide financial coaching and financial assistance for those who qualify in paying their delinquent taxes, and also to help taxpayers with low incomes manage their finances, pay down debt, increase savings, establish and build credit, and access safe and affordable mainstream banking products. At the core of the FEC model is the integration of counseling into other social services, and this is important. This is wraparound stuff. So including housing and foreclosure prevention, workforce development, returning citizens, which is prisoner reentry, benefits access, domestic violence services, and more. And in addition, Wayne Metro has secured a $300,000 grant from Chemical Bank to be able to provide matching assistance to folks who are delinquent, and so that they can get into payment plans and redeem their properties, keep their properties out of foreclosure. So we're very proud of this program, and today it's happening right now as we speak at the Treasurer's Office.
It's wonderful. Hopefully that you will be documenting how many folks you're able to help through this process, because we'd love to tell that good news story.
Absolutely, absolutely, you got it. And so I'd like to turn it over to Beverlyn Hilton to kind of go over some of the things that we do over at the Treasurer's Office in addition to what I spoke about.
Wonderful, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Or afternoon.
Oh, it's afternoon? Yeah. Well, that all runs together for me. I don't think that, is this on? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. We can hear you.
yes. But,
No.
There you go.
right, thank you. So my responsibility is to reach out to the community of Wayne County to share the programs and services that we have through the Wayne County Treasurer's Office. As far as seniors are concerned, we don't have a direct program per se. What we do is reach out through all of the other agencies that have programs that identify seniors. Right now, our system is not set up to be able to identify seniors. When I first started in the Treasurer's Office, that was my first question, since I'm in that category now, was how do we reach out to seniors and how do we identify our seniors as well as veterans? And so we don't have a trigger for that right now, but that's something that the department is working on. So then that means I reach out to other agencies such as DAAA. Through DAAA Meals on Wheels programs, most of you know about that program. We reach out to them, and by taking them literature and materials, I think the last one we did, there were about 8,000 pieces of material that went out, and we know it reached the seniors that were in their homes that were homeowners because they received the Meals on Wheels lunches. So the other things that we do is partner with elected officials that have different events, like we have Council President Brenda Jones that's having her senior forum that's coming up. I think it's on the 25th of this month, so we will be attending that. We partner with our churches when they have different forums and events. We attend that as well. We're working with Junius Williams with Unified Detroit, and they have about 10 different forums that they have here where they've invited the community, and they're at different churches, different nonprofit organizations, and they have an event. For example, when they did Bethel AME Church, they had 205 people in attendance, and 90% of those were seniors. So I have a list here of their events for the rest of the season, and so we know that when we're doing senior audiences, how many people or how many seniors we're touching at that particular time. So we also attend all of the police community relations meetings that we can. So most of our outreach is through other organizations, but we are working on some things in-house as well to address that once we're able to identify them. We do work with the treasurer's offices. We do reach out to the treasurer's offices for all of our cities. We also reach out to the mayors and say, what do you all have going on in your community? Sometimes we might identify seniors. Sometimes we might reach out to veterans. But our goal is to reach all of those folks that are in foreclosure status to make sure that they don't lose their property. So those are some of the things. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Yes. So sounds like wonderful work that you're doing. I didn't hear, and I know that the bigger foreclosure problem is in the city of Detroit, but it's not exclusively in the city of Detroit. So are you doing outreach out into the suburbs?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We've been to Ecorse, River Rouge, Hamtramck, Highland Park. We've reached all of, I guess when I say Wayne County, I'm covering the entire county. It's a lot.
Okay.
But yes, we do reach out to those counties as well. Westland, we've been to Westland. We're just at Inkster, Ecorse. We've been to River Rouge, Romulus.
Redford?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because Redford and the south end of Dearborn Heights, have their share of
yes.
foreclosures and,
yes.
and issues.
And that's a great thing, I think, about our treasurer as well. We actually go out and knock on doors. We do that as well. One of the other things that I'm working on that worked well for me on some of my previous assignments in life was a county ambassador program where we're identifying in each of our municipalities one or two people, and we're sending the information out through the treasurers, to the treasurers for each of those counties, the mayors and the elected officials, and say, who would you like to represent your community? And what we will do is we will walk them through a 6-week program to share with them the program and services that we offer through the Wayne County Treasurer's Office, and then they become our eyes and ears and another instrument to help us in those communities. And when I say help, let us know some of the issues that are going on. We know where the foreclosures are, and we also do a lot with zip codes. We identify zip codes. And so if there's a specific zip code in that city or that community, that's where I focus and try and reach out to those community groups and organizations so that we can go out to them. We also are establishing a foreclosure prevention coach. The treasurer's appointees in his office will be assigned so many folks that might be going into foreclosure or have potential of being foreclosed will be assigned to that coach, and that coach will keep up with them, making sure that they're doing all the things to save their property. So that's another great thing that we're doing as well. And we also are reaching out to our elected officials as well to say, when you do your newsletter, some of you at this table I have spoken with as well. So when you do your newsletter, could you please, we already have camera-ready artwork. And I think I've called your office. We talked last year about the Veterans Forum. And so this year we'll be doing it in Dearborn Heights, and maybe one of the other years we'll get to your city as well.
Dearborn Heights is one of my
cities. That is? Okay, that's even better. I'm in your city then. We're coming, and that's on November 18th. So
where are you going? I'm sorry. Where are you going on November 18th in Dearborn
We'll be
Heights?
at the Bellagio Banquet Center.
So it's actually November 21st.
I'm sorry, 21st. I got excited. It was 18 last year.
Thank you. Okay.
So those are just some of the programs that we're doing to reach out and try and identify what's happening in your city, where do we need to be, where do we need to go. Some of the cities we go to, they tell us the best place to meet the people are in their recreation centers. Some folks say City Hall. So wherever you want us to come, that's where we come.
Can I ask how you decided the Bellagio Banquet Hall? Because right across the street you have the La Scala VFW post and the American Legion post where the veterans gather in huge numbers. already?
We were given recommendations and suggestions from different people, and that's how we ended up. And I've been to that VFW hall as well for different events. But at the time, that's what was suggested. And you're absolutely right. I have been there, and it wasn't on the list of names that we received. And I didn't reach out to you. Maybe next time I will.
Yeah, I really wish you would have. If you're
well, we did reach out to you, and I think you told us you had a place, but I don't recall it being the VFW hall.
Well, I could have got either one. I don't remember having that conversation with you this year.
You were saying that. I think you said that you wouldn't be able to host it the year that we asked you, but you would welcome us to come. And because I'm new to the area, I don't have every commissioner's zip codes or cities to memory, and I should have did a little more research on that.
Yeah, because I think if I would have got a phone call said I'm coming to Dearborn Heights
oh, no, I didn't
November.
Say, no, it wasn't coming to Dearborn Heights.
Oh, okay.
You were offering us a place to do it, and I just don't recall what the place was.
Oh,
I don't remember it being a VFW hall.
Oh, okay. Could have very well been the American Legion Stippos down the street. But, yeah, that would be, I would suggest that you do work with the commissioner of whatever area you go into because they really know their community.
That's for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're going to know where you're going to get the best turnout.
Yes.
And I hope you get a good turnout at this location. I don't know if you will or not. But
well, we've been working very hard on it, and we've been in the community. So we go to the cities, we go to all of the key spots, and we'll go there as well and ask them to come across the street.
Right.
And there are other events that we'll be having, so we certainly can support those organizations. And the treasurer has been to their facility before, but it was after, the dates and things were
One more
set.
question along those
Sure.
lines. Are you utilizing the VSOs that are in order, the Veteran Service Organizations and the officers, the Veteran Service officers from the different
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, are you? Okay,
Yes,
'cause
ma'am.
They really know
We
their
had
client.
21 different veteran organizations that was at the very first forum that we had.
Wonderful.
And so, yes, we're reaching out everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Meetings that I go to across the city, I get emails from different veterans organizations. So I try and go to everything that I see that's veterans. I attend the Veterans Day parades that they have just to get connected and be able to identify those that are in the area. Yes.
Wonderful. Well, I really appreciate your outreach towards our seniors and our veterans. And if I know you said you talked to some commissioners already about your newsletter, and you had camera ready art. Do you have copy that kind of outlines, if we were to put an article in our newspaper?
To the services and programs, absolutely,
That
yes.
would be wonderful.
Anything that we do, we always send the Wayne County commissioners a flyer or information or an email. Anything that we've done, I've always included the Wayne County commissioners.
Wonderful. Okay, well, we would really appreciate that. I have Commissioner Scott, I have on the list, and then Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, and thank you for being here.
Yes.
I don't know how you do all the things that you do, because I see you everywhere that I go. But I want to thank you and the treasurer for all that you are doing.
Thank you.
Because it is just wonderful. Now, I chair the veterans and seniors here. So if you want to come to our meeting, we have a new director now of the veterans here.
Very good.
Right. And so we will be having a meeting pretty soon, and we'll let you know, and would love to have you come and
I
be a
certainly
part
would
of
like to
that.
be there. I did work with Mr. Clay prior to him leaving, and then I did reach out to see who had replaced him, and I think it was a staffer that was an interim person at that time.
Right.
So, and we do go by, we do make sure any information or any event we have, we do pass out your veterans brochure that you have. Now, it was shared with me when we went to pick up some additional brochures that they were moving, and so they didn't know where they were going to move to, so they had not ordered any more brochures for the Veterans Affairs Department. That was my last conversation.
That's
Okay, well, I can, I can give you the date now that we're going to have
Sure.
our meeting. And that's going to be Thursday, July 25th at 12 o'clock. That'll be our seniors and veterans meeting.
I'll be there.
Okay. Thank you so much. And again, thank you. I don't know how
Sure.
you do all of that.
And
Because I know that
I will say I am
couldn't
a
follow you
one-woman
to that other
team.
meeting the other day.
I'm a
Have to go home
one-woman
and
team,
rest.
so yes.
All right.
It's a
Well,
lot,
thank-
but I love it.
All right. I know you do. You've
I
been doing
enjoy
this
it.
for a long time.
Long time.
All right. Thank you.
And Commissioner Clark Coleman?
Sure. And Beverly Lynn, thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
When you send that, the information you get, do you send it to our PR office?
No, I have not.
Because
And
they
is
put
that-
our newsletters together.
Good.
And if you send the material to them, then they will offer it to, when they're putting their newsletter together, they will offer it to all of us.
And let me rephrase that. Actually, our communication director, I can't say that we have not, because I can't speak for our communications director. I personally have not, but I'll be happy to have that email address and send them everything we do through our office from an outreach perspective.
Wayne is from our PR office. And Wayne, would you be in touch with them to get information
okay.
that you can include in our newsletters? It
Absolutely.
makes it easier than trying to call each one of us,
That's great.
because Wayne puts together all of our newsletters.
Okay, I know when Tim used to
And when
do
he does
that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
if he has the material there, he'll certainly include it in our newsletter.
Absolutely. We have plenty to share
Okay.
and would love to get it out. Thank you. And also, when you have something, we certainly would like to know as well, and we'll be there. Most of you call us when you do, and maybe that's something we can share at the committee as a whole, that we would like to be a part of everything that you do. That's the only way we're going to reach those that are in trouble. Yes.
Mammoth's job.
It absolutely is, but it's
Yeah.
worth it.
Well, it's wonderful work you're doing. Is that all you have, Commissioner Clark Coleman?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you both. Okay, was there anything else that you wanted to tell us, or do you think you covered it pretty well?
I think so. I hope so. I hope I
think
have
you
represented our treasurer well enough.
Yeah, if I may, just
Yes.
add one item.
Sure.
So yeah, Beverlyn touched upon our senior town hall meetings that we have. These are events that we have as the Wayne County Treasurer's Office. The third annual Veterans Resource Fair that's coming up November 21st. There's one other thing that we do, I think that's really important, where we touch a lot of seniors, is in January. Last year was January 15 to 17, and then 29 to 31. We have our annual show cause hearings. So, where we put the, post the yellow bags on doors, we tell people, come on in, this is your time, you should come in. We send additional notifications to them, reminding them of the day and time they should try to come in. And we segment each day into two sections. But we'll take anybody, any day they come, really. We don't say no to anybody. But just to share with you, so, how do we touch Wayne County residents? Not just City of Detroit, but Wayne County residents. So, everybody who receives a notice is asked to come to these show cause hearings. And what we do there is we've turned these show cause hearings, where people come to show cause as to why they haven't paid their taxes, delinquent taxes. We've turned these into resource fairs. We've turned the notices that we send them into very inviting documents, colorful caricatures, so that they don't feel this is a legal document that I need to get a lawyer for and I don't know what to do with this, and they put it aside. I talked to some taxpayers. I was sitting with Mayor Duggan one time, and the taxpayer, I got that feeling from him, and he was right. So I revamped our entire package that we send out there to make them friendlier, more inviting. And what we do is we invite about 25 different partners to this show cause hearing. We have everybody from the Detroit Water and Sewage Department, which a lot of taxpayers have issues with their water bills, so they can clear them up right there. City Assessor's Office, legal aid, the various housing coalitions, Wayne Metro, DT Energy, just a ton of support so that if somebody needs help, even financial assistance to get into a payment plan, the resources are there. And people come and they're, I recall, I'll just share this with you. I recall one day just telling the woman, we all work it. It's not somebody doesn't sit in his office. We're all up there on the 8th floor trying to help people. But I recall this woman was kind of destitute. She was saying, I don't know how, I'm going to save my home. I don't have the money. I told her, just go ahead and talk to Wayne Metro, talk to UCHC. They may be able to give you some monies to help you, depending on your financial situation. And she did. She ended up doing so, and I had seen maybe 20 other people in the meantime. I went down to the first floor to check how things were going, and she walked up to me and she said, "May I give you a hug?" And it threw me, and I'm like, sure. What happened? And she said, well, they ended up giving me $1,000, and I was able to get into payment plan. I've saved my home, and she was in tears, and that makes my day. I mean, we work hard, but those kind of things are the reward we get for.
Amen.
And all of this is under the leadership of Treasurer Eric Sabri. We follow his leadership, and we do as much as we can.
That's wonderful.
He's everywhere, too.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I would really like the information, Roy, that you just provided to be also included in the information that you forward to, and Commissioner Clark-Holman made a great suggestion to have you send it to our PR people.
For sure.
And that would be a great idea. It's a great story.
Absolutely.
And it will help you get the information out so we can work together to help as many people as possible.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, and thank you for your time today. This is a receive and file for full board. Can I get a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Support.
Item's been moved and supported. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, item passes. Thank you. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Next item, D1, under new business, forwarding the Department of Corporation Counsel settlement report for May 2019.
Okay, this is also a receive and file, and I do see that Mr. Heath took the time to be here today, which I appreciate. Does anybody have any questions as it relates to the first one and the second one? Are they the same? And both 1 and 2 are from Corporation Counsel. One is from May and one is from June. I see. Are there any particular comments that you would like to make to us in this regard?
No, Commissioner. I think we've been in a closed session on the May report, I believe.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions regarding those two reports?
No, I don't.
So moved.
Would you like to move items 1 and 2? Mm-hmm. Items 1 and 2 have been moved for receive and file. They have a support?
Support.
And supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, items 1 and 2 have been moved to forward to full board as a receive and file. Mr. Clerk?
Next item, D3, forwarding a detailed breakdown report of the Department of Information Technology's contracts for fiscal year 2017 through 2018.
This is also a receive and file item. Any members have questions as it relates to the information technology report? Item's been moved for
Support.
and supported. Item's been moved and supported to move the item for receive and file to full board. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, item passes. Next item.
Next item, 4, forwarding additional information on the report on civil service positions as of April 28th, 2019.
Is there anybody here from personnel? Oh, yes. Thank you for joining us, and you always take the time to come, and I appreciate it.
Commissioners.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you state your name, Steve, for the record? Thank you so much. So the reason that I brought up, I don't have a specific question as it relates to the report that you provided, but I have a request that's similar to the request we made of the treasurer. And you know better than anybody. This county has been struggling with staffing. I think we have in excess of 600 funded vacant positions, and that would also be something that would work well for our newsletters. To try to recruit people, we're going to be spending the money to do the mailing to, offer information to our constituency. So if there's job opportunities and you'd like to put together a little blurb for us, that would help us help you. That's another thing. We're always looking for jobs in our districts and
upcoming job fairs, that sort of thing.
Yeah, upcoming job fairs, or even if you have, vacancies. I know the sheriff's department's suffering terribly, but if you have vacancies that you would like us to promote, even through regular channels, we could help you get that word out.
Great.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions as it relates to the personnel, human resources on the civil services positions? Receive and file, item number 4. Has there been any improvement, Steve? Is there been, have we had any success in bettering those numbers on filling those vacancies?
Yeah, we continue. One thing I improved on the report for you was not only to have it all on one. So
Yes, thank you.
Figure out the math on 2 reports, but to
Thank you.
identify hard to recruit for positions. So, we're continuing to make progress on wherever we are really strong. I mean, there are a couple that are just so, I'm sorry, thank you, that are so, my voice goes through walls anyway. I don't know if you want this on or not. Some, like national shortages for the police officers, and it's become such a hard to recruit for position. It's hard to do a whole lot with that without additional money. But for even nurses, social workers, some of the social workers at the prosecutor's office and in the JDF require master's degrees or whatever. We were way low. We found ways to get that increased. For nurses, you'll see nurses are always hard to recruit for. We had a couple of open positions. As we sit here today, that report was originally filed a couple months ago. Those positions have been filled. We've been able to do that. We've been able to work with unions and carry out some MOAs and figure out ways to, whether it's skipping what was a step increase or bringing people in at a higher rate, or finding other ways to agree to a different pay rate for entry-level positions. We're starting to really target those positions. I think we are making progress, but again, now on that report, I've identified for you where those are. Tree trimmers, Commissioner Bashan, we talked about that last time. Since we talked about that, we were able to increase that minimum by about almost $6,000, which is allowing us now to recruit for those better than we were.
Commissioner Basham.
Yeah, to that point, I chair the Committee on Audit, and I just found out we had an auditor that's leaving, or left already. Got a better job. I think it was 15 or 20,000 more a year, and so it's hard to replace folks when that's not, that's something that they have to take serious. So again, you just start to get people and get things rolling, and
Right.
Your college-educated folks with any experience at all, look for better opportunities. But we're losing auditors, and I think we had some open recs for auditors to begin with. So,
right, and we are, and then for some job classifications, depending on how the markets move, depending on supply and demand of labor for that job classification, we have positions. We have some positions where $20,000 and $30,000 below the market. We hadn't increased our pay plan in a decade. We didn't give increases around here for a decade, and no one moved the pay plan by a decade. Well, the rest of the world moved forward, and the labor market moved forward, and so depending on the job, we are really have some significant challenges with respect to money, and we're doing the best we can on those.
And I really appreciate the work you're doing. Commissioner Basham really makes great points. We run into performance issues and audits all the time because of the lack of staff. It's not that the people that we have aren't great, because they are, right, but we don't have enough of them. And I'm hoping that in the budget discussions, you have to do the best you can with the tools you have, as my dad would say, and I understand that, but it's really incumbent upon this commission to support the kind of increases that we need to compete in this market.
Right.
If we have a 3% unemployment rate, it's truly an employees market, and if we want to run the county in a most optimal, effective, and efficient way, we need to be able to pay comparable wages and benefits to retain, recruit and retain. I mean, I only took one personnel class in college, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that the cost of turnover is exorbitant.
It is.
It just doesn't make sense to be training people to fill their resume and have them go to another county and make $15,000 more.
Unfortunately, right, the cost of turnover and churning, and then when it takes time to get new people on board, they have a learning curve that usually drains the people that are trying to train them on the job, so there's a productivity loss. When there are true soft costs to turnover, and oftentimes they're not taken seriously, whether it's by CFOs or financial community, what the costs are, and we're paying one way or another. If we could take that money and put it into higher wages and reduce turnover, it's a smarter way to use the money.
Amen to that, and I hope to hear that when we get into the budget.
Right.
You're going to need to come forward and make that argument.
Right.
You know, eight county commissioners can make a difference. So. I appreciate your time today.
Right.
Okay.
I've got the next two items, so I'll sit here until.
Oh, thank you so much. And I can't wait to hear about the next item. So with item number 4, can I get a motion to receive and file, unless there's any other questions?
So moved. Support.
Thank you. The item has been moved to receive and file and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. That item passes. So next item is number 5.
Forwarding a report on the progress of implementing a succession plan within Wayne County.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. A succession plan. Imagine that. I've been asking for that for 11 years. So what are we doing to create succession planning in Wayne County?
Well, and I will say to answer that, the next item, number 6, is related to 5 because item number 6 is a request for a software tool that we have identified that is going to help drive succession planning, performance management, and career planning primarily. It's a talent development package, and so they're sort of related to that because also to your point, Chairwoman Webb, in HR to do succession planning, it really falls on myself, and again, I've got my normal 10 to 12 hour days doing a lot of things. Julie Lemaster is the other person that works on succession planning. And we have one other person, it's our engagement division, which was a 2-person division. Heidi Barson is the division manager, and one staff member who also has since left. So that division is one person. They both did orientations every Monday, so they're really only working 4 days a week anyway in the office. And so that's not enough. We need the software to leverage technology because of our own challenges with staffing within human resources to be able to roll this out. So what we're doing, if I can answer them together, is that we've taken about as far as we can with succession planning with just our own knowledge and working with Excel spreadsheets and so forth, and without a robust tool. Most employers would have an HRIS system. We have PeopleSoft, which was never configured to do any of these things, and that's going away and being phased out anyway with the Oracle Cloud. And I will say that in relation to the software we're purchasing, one of the challenges was we had to find something that was compatible with Oracle because the plan would be, and I think you all know, with Oracle, payroll is up front. Right now we're working, I'm on the ERP steering committee, and we're working to implement payroll on the front end of this 3-year engagement. But the rest of HR, and somewhere in their benefits, Claire's benefits is going to be in there, but then almost last is going to be the rest of human resources. And so, which is not expected to be live until like December of 2022. So thus, there's a 3-year bridge here where whatever we look at, we want to purchase, it has to be compatible so that in 3 years we can migrate off of this vendor, whoever they are, and then integrate and migrate that to Oracle Cloud. So this is a 3-year bridge, and what we hope to do in the next phase. So we have identified key and critical positions. We've identified potential successors to those positions, and some of those are even based on the structure. So where we have deputies, the default sort of deputy director as a default feeder group and succession plan to the director. But oftentimes that may or may not be the right decision. The timing could be immediate or 3 or 5 years out. What we're trying to do is have a more robust system that has a way of identifying each of those critical positions, having a succession committee, by the way, that hones in on definitely which positions should be succession planned for, and a final determination of who should be candidates that are in that. And that would change every year based on performance and other things. But we want to have a tool that allows us to have succession profiles, to understand how far a successor might be to a key position, what specific development they may need. Maybe they're missing some financial expertise, and we want to find projects, cross-training, on-the-job training, some sort of ability to get them that development that they need, and we want to be able to monitor and track to make sure those things are happening. So it's also tied into development, and we want to be able to have reporting and to be able to depict for every key position who are the potential successors, how far are they out, where are our risks, where do we have a key position where we don't have anybody ready for the next 3 years, and those sorts of risks to be identified. So that's the next step, is to hopefully get approval on this Bullseye management software. But that's some of the things it'll do for succession planning, and I could elaborate if you want, unless you want, I won't. In terms of performance management and career planning, what we would do with that tool. The only thing I would add is, believe it or not, I know that, and this software package is for 3 years, and it's like an $80,000 and a $63,000 and $63,000 for the second 3 years. That sounds like, bless you, sounds like a lot of money. If any of you are familiar with, and I think the Do-It people left, but this is a newer technology that's based on the SaaS platform, that's software as a service. Software as a service, cloud-based applications, generally the model is to have like a per employee per month fee. The fee we negotiated with this team, and we also wanted to parse out, just pay for the applications that we need. This has a learning management system, which we don't need because we have that with Skillsoft. This has applicant flow and tracking that we're already using in our talent team. So there's things we didn't need, we didn't want to pay for. We have this down to $1.48 per employee per month, and it's based on a population of 3,750. I've never seen a PEPM cost of being less than $3, and frankly, I've seen $3, $4, $5 per employee per month, all the way up to $7 and $8. Okay, if we just took that $148 that we negotiated, which turns out to be $63,000 for a year based on those metrics, if we took that $1.48 and just made it $3, the cost would be $135,000 per year. If it was $4 per employee per month, it would be $189,000 per year. That's a more typical cost for an organization our size for these sorts of technology applications, is 6 figures. So while this does appear to be somewhat expensive, I assure you we did a great job in leveraging and driving down the cost for this particular tool, which again will go away when we migrate it to Oracle ERP.
Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate your explanation of that, and I appreciate the fact that, I know that it's kind of ironic that the HR department that's trying to manage staffing is understaffed itself, but it's no surprise. But I really do think you're doing a yeoman's job at everything that you're doing to deal with the minute-by-minute thing, and then also future planning, because that's what happens. It turns into triage. When everybody is short-staffed, all you can do is put out fires every day. It's really hard to be forward-thinking, have a vision, and be working towards things in the future when you barely got the hands, to do the job right now. I got one question for it as it relates to the software. Will it be accessible to all the county-wide elected officials?
Great question. The answer is yes, in part. For something like the succession planning, that's going to be limited access to executives and managers and so forth that would be involved in that piece of it. But certainly for performance management and for things like career planning, the idea is anybody who has access to a computer at the county would have access to get in there and to use that. So, that would be the repository, like on performance management, where employees will have their goals and objectives captured, and as we have monthly check-in meetings, just to see how people are doing. Those sorts of things would be captured in there. So it would be accessible by everybody for
performance management, but for succession planning,
Right.
it's exclusive just to the county executives departments. It's not a tool that would be accessible to like the sheriff's department, the registrar's department, the treasurer's.
No, I'm saying it would be, but only at the highest levels. In other words, not all employees would be able to get into the succession planning
Well, that's
applications.
okay.
Yeah, it's just at the top positions. But I'm sorry, yes, across the county, the elected officials and so forth, they would absolutely have access. That's why we sort of did this
For sure,
based on
good.
3,700.
I just want to make sure of that because, yeah, it wouldn't make sense not to give
Right.
them the accessibility. They have the same, they're struggling with the
100%.
same issues.
This
So.
is a countywide coverage on this.
Very good. Commissioner Basham would like to make a comment.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I just, my antennas go up when I see comparable source agreements.
Right.
Is there any way of bidding this out? And it's like, if we go on the internet and even though you know in your own mind there's only like one company can do it, if you put it out there and only one company responds, then usually I don't have a problem with it if it's put out there and there's sunshine on the process. But when we see as commissioners comparable source, all of a sudden the flags go up.
Sure, understood. Well, I'll say this, and as we sort of answered on the question and answers on this, it was almost a hybrid. We didn't want to just open it up to bid because we had some unique needs, again, that it was going to be short term. We would need something that's compatible with Oracle. We only want to do it as a bridge. We wanted to only pay for component units we'd be using and so forth. But we did, and having researched this pretty extensively, there were only a few vendors that we could even afford. Most of the vendors, you looked at the pricing, and it would be hundreds of thousands a year, and we just wouldn't be able to do that. So we did identify three. There were two other vendors, Bird Dog HR and Ascentus, to go along with Bullseye, and we did have all three of them in. They all did present. We thoroughly vetted all three, and this was the cheapest of the three. I'm pretty sure. I know one of them for sure was more expensive than this, in part because they couldn't parse out the pricing as much as we wanted them to. But we did sort of, it would be almost like an RFP where we had selected three and then we brought them in and did demos.
And I guess because I've been around a few days, it's lowest qualified bidder, and it's not the lowest qualified bidder. And if it was a language that's written in a way that you could bid it out, and put it on the internet, and you select the lowest qualified bidder, I'm okay with that. But when you do sole source or comparable source, then I'm not okay with that. And of course, I'm one of 15 commissioners, but quite frankly, I just like sunshine, especially on a day like today. Thank you.
Right.
We did not get a vote on the receive and file number 5, correct? Okay. So if there's not any other comments, I'm going to go back and get a motion, if one of you would please.
Approval.
Thank you.
Support.
Thank you. So we have a we have a motion to receive and file, and it's been supported on item number 5. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Number 5 passes. Number 6, thank you because you're right, they are connected. This is a motion, I need a motion to approve the $206,100 for the succession plan software. I need a motion to approve and a support. Thank you.
Support.
Item's been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I'm going to abstain. I'm just trying to improve the process. Thank you.
I understand. Duly noted? Thank you.
Noted.
Okay. Next item? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Next item 7, approval of a 5-year sole source contract with the 2 one-year options to renew with the Tyler Technologies, Inc.
Okay, and we have the Register's of Deeds with us, and Barbara, please join us. Thank you both for taking the time to come. Thank you all for taking the time to come visit us today and give us information as it relates to Tyler Technologies, and what you're looking to do. So if you could please give us your name and title for the record, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. My name is Bernard J. Youngblood, Wayne County Register of Deeds. On my left is my Chief Deputy, Barbara Johnson, and on my right is the Vice President and General Manager for Tyler Technologies, our software vendor at the Register of Deeds office for the last 5 years.
Wonderful. So you want to give us the executive summary on what you're looking to do today and why you're looking to continue to work with Tyler?
I'd be delighted to. It's my pleasure to state that we have been dependent upon Tyler Technologies for these last 5 years, and we plead with you to continue that relationship, a relationship that has served our constituents extremely well, the best relationship and reliability that I have ever seen in my 19 years as the Register of Deeds.
Wonderful.
When we have had software vendors in the past that have not been able to comply to our needs, we have come to you and been allowed to make changes. When we change a software vendor, it is an extremely risky business. We have millions and millions and millions of data in our soft base. When you take that out of one vendor and transfer it over to another vendor, there is an extreme high risk of losing information that our constituents and our economy depend upon. As an example, I will tell you how our economy depends upon it. Not very long ago, just a few months ago, we had an opportunity in the city of Detroit to obtain a new Chrysler manufacturing plant. Before anybody knew that possibility was available, Mayor Duggan called me personally, said, "Bernie, we have a problem. We have to obtain the ownership on hundreds and hundreds of parcels of land. I know your operation and I know the vendor that you use. I need you to help me. What can you do? This has to be a kind of a covert operation or else the prices will drive up substantially." I said, "Mr. Mayor, we'd be happy to come in and work with the legal descriptions that you need, assemble the data, and a word will not go out of our office that this is being done." He said, "Can you do it in X amount of days?" I called upon my staff members who were expert in that. We used the software provided by Tyler Technologies, extracted all the data that they needed, worked over Saturdays and Sundays, and as you know, today they are building the new Chrysler plant. That has been substantial. The mayor was extremely satisfied, wrote a nice letter to the staff, which now hangs on our wall. He also asked that he come down and meet our staff to show his appreciation at our next employee meeting. In addition to that, the dependency of our office on the qualifications of Tyler Technologies is such that they are aware of our deed fraud operation. They have created a fraud guard that we have made available on all of our constituents' use. Any one of your constituents can sign up for this fraud guard, and after Commissioner just talked about Wayne is responsible for writing the newsletters.
Yeah.
I set up a meeting with Wayne to sit down with him, explain how the fraud guard can be created for your constituents, and hopefully we'll get a little blurb out in each of your newsletters. That's up to you, of course.
Appreciate that.
But in addition to that, that's how we were able to use this Tyler Technologies to return over 330 homes to our constituents, my constituents as well as yours, since we've been doing this.
Wonderful.
it is wonderful, not for the 320 people that we put in prison for doing this criminal activity. They don't think it's so wonderful.
We think that's wonderful.
In addition to that, when I decided upon renewing with Tyler, I did not understand, I did not know, since then I have found out, that many entities within Wayne County depend upon the expertise of Tyler Technologies. The sheriff uses a program of Tyler Technologies. Our court systems depend upon a program with Tyler Technologies. The Metropolitan Airport depends upon the technology of Tyler. This is one of the best companies in the country that I know of that provides this type of information. Even though I depend upon them, I think highly of them, I am constantly open to reviewing other technologies, other companies, other vendors who have called upon me and showed me their software. I have yet seen one that could possibly hold a candle to what Tyler Technologies can do. They also, as opposed to not being just available, need to have proven that they have worked with the county of our size, and there are not many that can prove that. I am not going to risk our information, our constituents' data to a county, or excuse me, a vendor that is starting out or a vendor that has not had the experience with large counties. So with that, I implore you to allow us to continue working with Tyler Technologies. And I welcome any questions that you have for Barbara, myself, or Mr. Jim Adams, Vice President, General Manager of Tyler Technologies.
Thank you, Mr. Register. We have both Commissioner Clark-Coleman and Commissioner Basham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you are the owner of Tyler?
No, ma'am. My name's Jim Adams. I'm General Manager and a Vice President of a number of products within Tyler Technologies. Tyler Technologies is a public corporation listed on the New York Stock Exchange. So.
Okay. And I guess the reason I ask, because I chair the committee that met just before this one, and that's the Committee on Judiciary and Public Safety and Judiciary and Homeland Security. And we just had a contract on that agenda from Tyler Technology, and we heard the same spiel from the Sheriff's Department.
That's very good.
About Tyler Technology. They talked about how they depended on it and that they've been working with Tyler for 5 years, and they also were very complimentary of the job that Tyler's done. So it was just coincidental that this is on here because we just approved that contract also.
That's very good to hear, Commissioner Clark-Coleman.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that. It's good for the rest of us to know, too. Commissioner Basham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, and I'm okay with Tyler Technologies also. The issue is sole source. If we could put a bid out, and if only Tyler Technologies is the lowest qualified bidder, then I'm fine with it. But this process that we do comparable source or sole source, and I know there's uniqueness in this contract. I understand all that. But what I'm trying to do is get our sole source and comparable source contracts down to that. And you can't do that if we are not doing the process right to actually put a bid out. And if they are the only company that meets a qualified bid, then I'm fine with it. But not to put a bid out to do a sole source contract, then that opens the door for other companies to say, well, you picked them because that was a sole source contract. and this eliminates that discussion. If that makes sense?
Well, I guess, certainly.
Through the chair, Aaron Wagner, Procurement Director.
Thank you.
So there's a distinction between a comp source and a sole source. The sole source is that it is truly a proprietary, unique item that they may have patents, they may have licensing agreements, that they own that particular technology, which is why it doesn't go out to bid. I do agree that comp source, there has to be a very, very, very high bar in order for that to go through. From a sole source position, from both a best practice and a procurement practice that's done in the public sector and the private sector, in those instances, if it is in fact demonstrated that the technology or the service is proprietary and no one else can produce it, it is standard procurement process in order for us to award it under those unique circumstances. And again, it has to be demonstrated that they own it. With the comp source, certainly I'll go back to my staff, and I've heard the question on the comparable source. We do have, as everybody else throughout the county, a limited staff, so our pipeline is very limited, so we really try and address the major issues that we can in going out to solicitations, given the staff that I do have currently. But again, I will go back. I have heard that the comp source is an issue. The sole source issues, I will respectfully say that in those unique instances, they own the technology. Nobody else can do it. So to put out a bid it's a use of resources that I don't have.
And basically, that's what I'm getting down to. If we need to put more resources so that we can bid the contracts, then we need to do it as a commission. But you were a big country. Tyler's out of Texas. That's wonderful that somebody found them in Texas. But there may be, or may never be, somebody else out there. But when you do a contract for lowest qualified bid, and only one company with those qualifications answers that bid, you get no conversation even from commissioners because they're the lowest qualified bid. So I'm just saying it's a process thing, because when I got here a few years ago, 20 to 30% of the contracts over $50,000 were retroactive. So that's a lose-lose. If I vote yes, then I'm not doing my job. If I vote no, then we get sued and the taxpayers pay the price for the suits, which that's who I work for. I'm not doing my job that way either. So what I'm continually trying to do, we're trying to tighten up the procurement ordinance, is to eliminate sole source or comparable source contracts, if at all possible. I hear what you're saying, and I respect that, but what if there was, why even open the door for that? Just bid it out as the lowest qualified bidder, and if they're the only one that responds, I'm okay with it. I've said enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark Coleman.
I'd like to move approval.
Support.
That has been moved and supported. I just want to say thank you for coming very much. I appreciate it. And I was here at the time when you didn't have reliable people in there, and I remember the disruption to your office, and it just was a disaster. So I'm personally glad that you found somebody that meets the needs.
If I could say thank you on behalf of Tyler Technologies for all the business that Wayne County does with us. We enjoy serving you guys.
Thank you. Sounds like we're pretty darn lucky to have you.
All those people that you have helped save their homes and that.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you put all of them away.
And I'd love to have the blurb for the newsletter. So
I think we're going to work with Wayne on that, and hopefully in your next newsletters, all of your constituents will sign up for our fraud guard.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'm just one of mine.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Basham.
I'm just a reluctant yes on this one, but I'm trying to put a message out.
Well, we appreciate that. So let me get that vote. All in favor?
Yeah,
aye. Okay. Any opposed? Hearing none, item passes. I'm sorry, Commissioner Clark.
Yeah, I just want to indicate, I have the item from my meeting, and I have Tyler Technology in Troy.
Yes.
840 West Long Lake Road in Troy.
Yes, Tyler is a company, as I said, it's a publicly traded company. We have multiple divisions across the country. Where our corporate office is in Plano, Texas. In Troy, it's our law enforcement or public safety division, and they're up there in Troy.
Okay.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So the item passed, and it'll be up at the next full board meeting. So
Thank you.
Thank you both for your time. Thank you all for your time. Have a great day. Next item.
Next item E, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
What?
I'm sorry.
I got a bunch of other items. I don't know what meeting you're in.
Thank you.
Item 8. Sorry, this white face.
Item number 8.
Approval of a 3-year contract with the 2 1-year options to renew.
Was Xanadu bottled?
Yes.
Water. This is our water company.
Yes.
Yes.
Aaron
okay.
Wagner, Procurement Director.
Thank you.
So, in an effort to try and leverage the county, it was, even though this is a small item, it is just the bottled water that the employees drink. I noticed that my staff was doing a tremendous amount of work with multiple contracts with multiple departments, in some instances even on the same floor, with multiple suppliers for bottled water. So we took the county as a whole, including all electeds, everyone, put it out to bid. We had 3 respondents come back. We selected the best price, and that's what you have before you.
That's good news. With that,
I'd like to move that.
Commissioner Bash. Item's been moved and supported. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, item passes. Thank you, Aaron. Next item.
Next item 9, approval of retroactive modification number 2 to a 1-year contract with Alliant Insurance Services, Inc.
And item number 10 is also an insurance
correct.
contract. And those are the last 2, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
If I may, Madam Chair, again, in trying to address retroactive contracts, we have adjusted the procurement ordinance. We understand what the issue with insurance is, so we're not going to say that that violates, because they have to do it like within a month, so I understand it. So I can't even reluctantly, I'll support this. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's good news. Good job, Claire. You got the message across. So thank you for being here. I want to put on the record that I always appreciate the fact that you come when your contracts are up in front of us. Not everybody does today. We've been very fortunate that everybody came, but a lot of times when we have these, we have questions and no one comes. We don't even want to move them forward, but you always come. So thank you for your dedication.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
You got the pass from Commissioner Basham, and that's saying something. So you want to give us the lowdown on the status of these 2 contracts. We can take 9 and 10 together if everybody's okay with that. They're both aligned. Okay.
Sure, that's fine. Claire Mason Lee here in the capacity of Director of Risk Management. The first contract is for the bridges property. So those are for our 3 movable bridges. We have a separate policy just for them.
Okay.
The changes for this particular policy, if you all may recall, back in 2013, there was a significant accident with the Jefferson Avenue Bridge.
Yes.
Travelers was our prior insurance carrier. They are still covering the repair to that bridge and everything that's going on with that particular bridge, but they no longer chose to cover us for those bridges. And so we've had Zurich for the last policy year, and they have renewed again for this year. One of the requirements that Zurich did ask of us is that we make sure that we got a more current inspection report as well as evaluation of the replacement value for the bridges. And so that is why we have an increase in the premium cost, because the reports, when we finally got them back from DPS and the Michigan Department of Transportation, the value to replace them has gone up. And they do have deficiencies, all three of them. They're all in the process of being repaired, of course, but those are still open liabilities as long as the deficiencies are there. So that's what's going on with the bridge policy. I can pause if anyone has a question.
Well, I just want to point something out that I'm glad that you brought us that information, just because it gives us the ripple effect of these defective bridges that we have, and that they're not only costing us from, the Public Act 51 dollars, but also in insurance premiums to cover them because of the defects.
Correct.
Which is something I really didn't give much thought to until you just mentioned it. It's another thing we need to know, so thank you for bringing that up.
Right, because these are not items that can not be in existence. So if something happens to them, they have to be replaced and they have to be repaired. So repairs are ongoing for all three of them. So my hope, and this is an annual policy, so my hope that when the next inspection is done and that we get a reduced in the number of deficiencies, that the policy will go back down after this year. But that's a guess, so it's a hope. Okay. So that's for the bridges policy. That's number 9. And for number 10, that is for our underground storage tanks. Those are the tanks that are located throughout the county, but primarily being used by DPS for the storage of gas and oil. And so those are several tanks that we have, and that is a pollution policy. We don't have any issues with the tanks. The ones that did have issues are closed and locked, and they're not being utilized, so there's no leakage or any problems, so we don't have any issues there. They are still covered, however, because we still own them, but they're not in use. But there are others that are in use for storage.
Very good. Commissioner Basham has a question.
Yeah, to those closed bad tanks that we have, there is a fund. You pay 7/8 of 1 cent of every gallon of gasoline for the MUSFA funds. The state has. I don't know if you looked into that. It used to be called the LUST funds and MUSFA funds. We dealt with it in the legislature. As a matter of fact, there was a transfer. There was so much money sitting there in the state that they were earmarked specifically for leaking underground storage tanks. And the governor, Democrat, and the Attorney General, Republican, agreed that you could take that earmarked money just for that and put it in transportation fund. Then they pulled it out of the transportation fund, put it in the general fund. So there should be plenty of money in that fund to deal with those contaminated tanks.
What's the acronym?
It's MUSFA funds, and just talk to your state rep or your state senator, and they should be able to direct you where we could apply for a grant to get that money to clean those up. And that's money that's already been taken out of people's gasoline. 7/8 of 1 cent of every gallon of gasoline goes for that, cleaning those up.
I will definitely thank you for that information.
Might save you some money.
Yeah, I will definitely look into that.
As
I said again, the closed and locked tanks have been inspected and they don't seem to have an issue, but if this is something that we can utilize funds to make sure that there's still no leakage and that they have been properly cleaned, it's definitely something to look into. So thank you. So that's the story with the underground storage tanks.
Very good. Commissioner Scott?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do you know how many storage tanks that are not in use that we're still paying for?
There are 3 that are locked and closed right
Okay.
now.
Do you think that they will use them in some time, or they'll just be unused?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. My guess is that if those sites ever become used again, they'll have to replace the tanks, because the tanks themselves had some issues with them, so they wouldn't be able to use the exact tank that's
Okay,
there.
so you won't be able to use those anymore.
But if they decide to use the site where the tanks are again, they'd have to replace the tanks. And that would be something that DPS would have to decide if they needed to do, and they have not needed to do it at this time. Apparently the ones that are in use are sufficient enough to store the old oil and the gasoline that's stored there.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, very good. Any other questions or comments on this item? On these items? So I need a motion to move 9 and 10. You okay? Okay. I have a motion to move 9 and 10 for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, items pass.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Okay.